Assalamu alaikum, dear students. It is class 11th, subject education. It is 5th of July 2021, Monday. Dear students, we are discussing secondary education and we have discussed the structure and organization of secondary education as recommended by Secondary Education Commission. And today we are going to discuss the organization and structure of secondary education as recommended by Indian Education Commission. These both commissioners have given their recommendations regarding this secondary education. Dear students, let's try to understand what recommendations were given by Indian Education Commission regarding this secondary education. Dear students, Indian Education Commission on Education has suggested the secondary education, the duration of secondary education should be first is preschool education. 1 of 3 years of preschool education, 10-year period of general education. It may be subdivided into a primary stage of 7 to 8 years, a lower primary stage of 4 to 5 years, and a higher primary stage of 2 to 3 years, and lower secondary stage of 2 or 3 years of general education, or 1 to 3 years of vocational education. The enrollment in vocational courses being raised to 20% of the total. Higher secondary stage of 2 years of general education or 1 to 3 years of vocational education. The enrollment in vocational education being raised to 50% of the total. Higher education stage, having a course of 3 years or more for the first degree and followed by course of varying duration for the second or research degrees. External examination. There should be an external examination at the end of class 10th to mark termination of the first 10 years of schooling. Streaming in schools. The system of streaming in schools of general education to be made beyond class 10th. 2 types of secondary schools. There should be 2 types of secondary schools. High schools providing a 10-year course and higher secondary schools providing course of 11 or 12 years. Upgrading the bigger schools. Only the bigger and more efficient schools, about 1/4 of the total number, should be upgraded. Attempts to upgrade every secondary school to the higher secondary stage should be abandoned. Those schools should be downgraded which do not deserve the higher secondary status. Instituting new higher secondary course. A new higher secondary course beginning in class 11th to be instituted. Class 11th and 12th should provide specialized studies in different subjects. However, where existing higher secondary schools with integrated course in class 9th, 10th and 11th are running satisfactorily, the arrangement may continue until class 12th is added. Transfer of pre-university course. The pre-university course should be transferred from the universities and affiliated colleges to secondary schools by 1975 and 76, and the duration of the course should be lengthened to 2 years by 1985 and 86. The UGC, University Grants Commission, should be responsible for effecting the transfer of all pre-university or intermediate work and affiliated colleges to schools. Simultaneously, higher secondary class or classes should be started by State Education Department as self-contained units assisted with adequate recurring grants. Reconstituting boards of secondary education. Board of secondary education should be reconstituted to accept the responsibility for the higher secondary stage also. Lengthening the duration of higher secondary stage. In the fourth plan, efforts should be concentrated on securing a better utilization of existing facilities, on making the necessary preparation for implementing the program, and on lengthening the duration of the course in new selected institutions as pilot subjects. The program of lengthening of the duration of the higher secondary stage should begin in the fifth plan and be completed by the end of the seventh plan. Vocationalization at the higher secondary stage. The students' provisions should also be made from the outlet for the introduction of different types of vocational courses at higher secondary stage, varying in duration from 1 to 3 years, which would prepare young person for employment. These courses will include courses conducted by industrial training institutions, courses for training paramedical health personnel, courses for secretariat work, courses in home science. Dear students, this was the structure of secondary education as recommended by Indian Education Commission. It's all for today. Bye. Assalamu alaikum.